how long does it take me to make $1,000? If you were to put it in a timeline sense, it takes me... Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I thought it'd be a fun concept to share how long it takes me to make $1,000. This video was purely inspired from Courtney from Common Tags. She made a video kind of breaking down what her hourly rate would be if she was comparing this to an actual like standard 9-to-5 job. First and foremost, that Courtney is a full-time reseller. This is her main source of income, her main job, as opposed to me. This is purely a part-time, or even like a, jokingly, like I want to say it's a quarter-time job, because I have a full-time job. This is more done as a hobby. When I just have free time and I'm thrifting, I always think of things to source for reselling. I even got about reselling in the first place was simply because I came home and moved home from college and was just irritated all the time because of how much stuff was hoarded in my childhood home, so in my parents' home. And with their approval, they allowed me to just sell some of the stuff, or essentially junk, around the house. And lo and behold, it was a pretty profitable side hustle for me, so I continued to do that. And I even expanded to sell my own clothes. I have sold a lot of my friends' clothes because I've made this pretty public that I do reselling. Friends and peers around you always have a junk pile just looming somewhere in their house, so more often than not, when I've publicized this, they're more than happy to give me their junk pile for free. So I will say my business model, if you will, started from just stuff that I was given, stuff around the house. So my cost of goods inevitably was zero. But more recently, as in this past month or 2 months, I started actually taking this a little bit to the next level, or amping it up a little bit, and trying to source my own inventory. And the reason why I wanted to do that was because the year or so that I spent just reselling crap and junk around the house, I felt pretty confident doing it. I felt like I had a good foundation. I had a lot of good reviews. I also wanted to experiment to see if things that I source would actually give me an average higher sales price. With sourcing your own inventory, there's of course going to be a higher average sales price, but with that you have to factor in like time spent sourcing your items, time spent driving to get those items, gas. So there's a lot of other operational costs. I will touch base on that at the end of the video and factor in all those things. So my final deduction is simply from my own profit. The first item I sold from this $1,000 pool was actually an item from my friend. Because I already have a platform, my friends will sometimes want me to sell things for them because it's way easier to get exposure off of my account than selling it on their own, and that's totally cool with me. It really just depends on what the item is or how close I am to the friend, to be honest. This friend wanted to give me a commission where I could have just done it for absolutely free, so I ended up selling a pair of Birkenstocks for this friend, and my commission cut, I ended up earning $15 from it. The next batch of items, I actually went to a buy-sell trade store to sell some of these clothes. This is clothes that my mom has been hoarding for my supposed her granddaughter, my future daughter, but that is still a long ways away, and I feel like this is what I mean, like the essence of like parents that just hoard things for years and years and years. She ended up letting me sell some of the items. How I view buy sell trade stuff is like it's an investment, so whatever they pay me out for, I then reinvest that money into buying stuff from their collection. So typically buy sell trade stores have more premium or better selection because they're vetting it, as opposed to your local Goodwill where you can be looking through 100 items to maybe find one really good name brand item. They're already curating that for you. So anything I make off of buy sell trade stores, I will then reinvest it into buying some of their pieces, and then I will try to flip it and make a bigger profit on it. Without getting too nitty gritty, let's just say I made $77 off of buying or selling my clothes to this buy sell trade store. The next thing I sold was this Sandro crochet sweater. I talked about this sourcing trip in a previous video, so if you're interested in watching what I sourced from that trip, I'll link it somewhere on the screen. I was able to find this from my local Goodwill, so super pleased to find that. I ended up selling it like 4 days later, and I will always take a faster sale than a higher price sale, and this is because I live at my parents' house, so we want to be respectful of my parents' house and not have my inventory just littered across the whole house. So I try to keep my inventory just within like one box. And so what that means is I will so much rather prefer taking a lower sale than what I could have made for a faster sale. The next thing I sold was a personal item, and it's this pair of jazz shoes, or I sold 2 pairs of jazz shoes in one bundle. There's always somebody out there that will take your stinky, battered jazz shoes, or honestly just anything in that athletic category. So like, for example, climbing shoes, jazz shoes, sports related things, because athletes go through their shoes so freaking fast. So sometimes they're already okay with it not looking like the most pristine condition, but as long as it's functional, people will buy it. My point proven, because this person that bought these shoes off of me actually reached out and said if I have any more jazz shoes or dance shoes that I have in inventory, then she would love to buy it. So the next sale was actually from this Kickstarter brand called Boulder Denim. I just don't know how I got so lucky, but I have a climbing friend that literally fits the length and waist of these pants. So I ended up selling a pair of jeans to my friend, and I will always any day take a sale to a friend than taking a sale off of your secondhand selling apps, only because these secondhand apps take such a fat commission cut. So I'm so much more willing to give my friend a more reasonable price because I won't get commission cut. So it's honestly a win-win. And then the next thing I bought was this All Saints dress. I'm so certain that the people who were pricing this dress thought that this was a scarf because they priced it so low. Like typically their dresses at Goodwill are priced in that $8.99 range, but they priced it at $4.99. So I was able to make a quick and pretty profitable sale off of this dress. Next thing I obtained, I'll link the video where I talk about this, but in my most recent video I talk about things that I don't buy anymore simply because I can find a lot of it just given away, or simply, like, I call them dumpster finds because quite literally they're on the street for the trash people to take it away. So commonly in my neighborhood I'll walk around on trash day and I'll commonly scope out who's giving stuff away on the side of the road. So to my luck, I found this printer in like almost perfect condition. I think the reason why the owner gave it away was honestly because they didn't want to buy more ink for it, because everything else was perfect. So I sold this, of course disclosed on my listing that there's no ink provided, and was able to also make a pretty profitable sale off of that, making $55. Next thing I sold was another Sandro piece, and it was this Sandro black dress. Also, I'm less adverse to buying like name brand stuff from the thrift store, even if I don't feel like the style will attract a lot of people, because there's places like the Real that are all about name brand. So if I can't sell it on my own reselling platforms, I know that the Real will accept it. So that's kind of my philosophy with why I go about buying a lot of these seemingly ugly, I mean, it's all subjective, right? But like to me, I think it's pretty ugly, but I'll still pick it up because at the end of the day, I feel like I can always sell it to the Real. Or the next thing I sold was actually from my own personal closet. Whenever I sell things from my own personal closet and just realize how much I am losing money out on these things, it just reminds me of like, Kat, like never be the younger Kat you were and spend futile money or spend money so recklessly. When I was in like middle and high school, I don't know if you guys can relate, but I just like did not know the value of money. So I would be at Urban Outfitters just balling out, and like with what money my parents is. All to say, I sold this Ecote romper that was originally bought from Urban Outfitters full price. Probably bought it for closer to $40 to $45. Ended up making net earnings of $15, and you know, some can argue like, hey Kat, like at least you made some money back, but to me it just makes my heart like so sad that I'm losing money. The goal is always to make money, always to be in the green. Next item that I sold was this Burberry men's t-shirt, and this once again was one of those things where I know for a fact I could have made a lot more because all the comparable listings and all the previous ones that have sold it for way more. But I got a pretty reasonable offer on within the hour of posting it, so I just accepted the offer and I was still very happy. Just as like with negotiation, knowing your bottom line, so the lowest you'll ever go. As a reseller, I feel like you also have to know what is your average sales price range. So it varies. Like if I am selling items that I haven't been able to source myself and there were things that were given to me, I will of course expect way less of an average sales price because these things are usually like more junk items, qualified as more junk items. But like If it's stuff that I actually like pre-vetted, I curated myself, of course I'm going to want an higher average sales price for that, because there's the time spent on my time sourcing, there's the gas, there's the time driving. So I expect a higher average sales price to cover the cost of those type of extenuating things. And I say this because I feel like the biggest thing you can do as a reseller to shoot yourself in the foot is have an extreme attachment to your items. Like, you might think that you can sell this particular item for $60 to $70, and you might think, and what that can cause you is to reject any offers that don't hit your mark or that idealized mark. But I advise you, more than thinking about what could it sell for, think about what you're content with for your average sales price, because to be honest, I've run into so many situations where I've rejected an offer that was like $10 less than what I wanted to make off of it, and don't end up selling the product until like 1 or 2 years later. So in my mind, was it really worth not making $10 to have an item sit in inventory, take up space for an additional like year? Rather than thinking about what something could sell for or what your idealized version of that is, think about, does that suit your average sales price range? Like, is that where you want to be? So the Burberry shirt kind of was that prime example. So it was in that range where I made like $35, where it's exactly where I want to be for my average sales price. The next thing I bought was the exact opposite of what I just stated. So I ended up finally selling this Canon, this old DSLR model, and this exactly happened, where I was getting a lot of reasonable offers that were in my average sales price range, but I just felt like it could have sold for way more. But lo and behold, I ended up holding this item for like a year longer than what I needed to, only to make maybe $20 more off of it. And especially because this is a tech piece, tech takes up a lot more room. I'm more willing to hold on to clothing pieces for a little bit longer because they can be condensed, they're smaller, but tech pieces, like, they're in boxes, so they take up way more space. But yeah, this was finally a sale that I made after having this listed for something like a year or something like that. I sold this Canon DSLR camera. This was an item given to me from my dad to sell, so my cost of goods was absolutely zero. The next thing I sold was actually also from my personal collection. It was this Majuri necklace. So I actually bought this for myself, but after a year of wearing, it ended up having like a knot in the necklace. So I contacted their customer service. They were so happy to give me a replacement pair, but of course, as you know, or you may not know, when you ask for replacement pairs, or like they guarantee you like unlimited warranty, usually the replacement pair is like way crappier than what the original pair was. So I saw right through that, and I was not happy with the new quality that they had sent me, so I ended up selling the replacement pair. So I'm counting that as a zero cost of goods. The next thing I sold was makeup for my friend, and my friend and I have a deal that I take a commission cut for everything I sell for her. So made a little bit of money, not a lot, but still made some money off of that. Next thing similarly I sold was a pair of shoes for my friend. This is from the Air Jordan like lifestyle line. Don't know much about it, but all I can say was I was way happier with how much I ended up making off of this than expected. So my cost of goods was zero, and I made over $50 off of it, and it was once again a quick like week turnover. So super happy with that. Next thing I sold was another thing given to me by a friend. Wow, they have very generous friends. The next thing I sold was this hydration backpack. This one also was sitting in my closet for I think like 2 years, so I was just so happy to get it out. I only made $5 off of it, but hey, I would still take $5 for it to be out of my possession. Next thing I sold was another camping related item, and it's this inflatable sleeping pad. Story behind this is I had let my friend borrow the sleeping pad, and then something happened to it, so she ended up buying me a replacement pair. But with that said, I was able to sell this like defective pair. It wasn't truly defective, it was just you kind of needed to do a little bit of surgery on it and fix it yourself. Like, there was workarounds around it, but frankly I didn't want to have to deal with fixing it, so I just sold it, disclosed that it was slightly defective. Somebody bought it within the same week, so super stoked about that. The next thing I sold was also given to me. I sold this Cheyenne pair of shoes, which Cheyenne is an in-house brand of Boot Barn, so I got it for $0. These shoes were actually new, like new, just new without box. So I was able to sell that really quickly. I think that one actually sold same day as well. The next two items I sourced from Goodwill on the same trip. So The first was this Thursday. It's called the brand is called Thursday, and the shoe is called the Premier High Top shoes. These shoes are made in or designed in New York and made in Mexico. Basically very high quality shoes. They do limited runs of making these shoes. I didn't know about this brand prior to finding it at Goodwill, but I feel like if you do reselling long enough, you just know quality when you see it. So this is one of those shoes that I gave it a shot, looked up comparable listings, and it's actually it's a recent release, so it's actually new and still on their website. I was able to sell this for $68. Okay, and the next item that I got from that trip were these Lululemon ABC like men's trouser pants. Lululemon is something that sometimes it can sell really quickly, other times it can sit, but at the end of the day I know that it'll sell, so I'm never hesitant to pick up Lululemon. They were a size 40 and they were in tall length, so that is a very hyper specific size, but knowing just the history of Lululemon and the sell-through rate with it, I knew it would eventually sell, but I did not expect it to sell this fast. So I also sold the pair of pants the week of. The next pair of shoes are these Nike Dunks. The same person that gave me the Air Jordan shoes gave me these shoes. So this one was a little bit, I was trying to test my water, to be completely honest, with this pair of shoes. I do not have a lot of experience selling men's shoes or like men's like basketball shoes in that type of line in general, but I was aiming closer to selling it for $90. Then somebody sent me an offer for $50, and to be honest, I just accepted because I do know, the one thing I do know about these Nike aficionados is that they are very particular about their shoes, having the shoe be in pristine condition, like no creasing, no yellowing of the soles. The shoes that I obtained had all of those flaws, so I figured like, will another offer like $50 come around ever if, you know, the shoes are in pretty poor condition? So with that said, I was willing to accept the $50. Now, like I said, I probably, if I held off a little bit longer, I probably would have been able to sell it for a little bit more, maybe closer to that $90, $80 range, but I was okay to get this out of my closet. It does take up a lot of space. I don't like to hold shoes because they're in boxes, and just boxes take up a lot of space in general. The next thing I sold was this All Saints like turtleneck almost type thing. It was actually a 2-in-1 type of thing, so it comes with a slip dress underneath, but when I thrifted it, I only saw the turtleneck. And also I just figured like I probably wouldn't sell this until the winter months, so like when September, October nears. But actually I got like not the best offer, but somebody was willing to buy this in the dead of summer, so I figured, you know, that's okay if I make a little bit less out of it because it's not the season for it. Granted, if I did post it sometime in the winter, I probably would have made a little bit more off of it, but I was okay with making a little bit less because it was off season. So the next item that I sold were these Birkenstock shoes. Birkenstock Footprint is like their diffusion line of Birkenstock, so I was able to sell these shoes that I took a huge gamble on. I've never heard of Birkenstock outside of like their standard line of shoes like the Boston or the Arizona, but I looked on comparable listings off of Poshmark and found that the Footprint line does fairly well, so I was able to sell this pair of shoes within a month, a little less than a month. The next thing I bought was actually something that I bought for myself, but then I got a little bit realistic with myself that I will probably never wear mohair because I run hot, so wearing something of that type of material would just make me not only very itchy but very hot. So I decided it's for the better for me to sell it. So I didn't make a lot off of it because it's a no-name type of brand, because at the end of the day I was buying it for myself, but still happy that I was able to make $20 off of it. And the next thing I bought was this pair of Spanx leather leggings, and I typically would not run to buy Spanx, but because these were new with tag, I figured there's not much to lose. So I bought these leather leggings. These ones sat for a bit longer, a little over than a month, but I was happy to make a sale of net earnings of $32, so happy with that. And the last thing that I sold was this Reformation backless like halter type dress that I actually did end up buying from the buy sell trade store, but I'm going to count that as $0 spent because a lot of the things that I sell to buy sell trade stores are things that are given to me in the first place, so anything that I get paid out is just profit for me. So I ended up selling that dress for $70. Popping in here from post-editing Cat because some changes are due. I ended up selling a few more things upon the filming of this video. So the first of which are these Bonobos chinos, and I got these a long time ago, probably like 6 months ago. This bundle was 4 H&M jackets that are honestly in near perfect condition. Once again, my friend had me sell these and he was fine with me keeping all the profits. So I ended up selling this for net earnings of $60. So with all that said and done, my grand total was $1,117.31. I know what you guys are thinking. That's not necessarily an accurate number because I didn't subtract my cost of goods, I didn't subtract gas, I didn't subtract time spent. So I went ahead and already made those calculations. So if you take out all the cost of goods that I personally spent my money on, I did calculate gas prices. So I'm fortunate enough that my Goodwill that I love and cherish dearly and source like 99.9% of my inventory from is a good 3 miles away from me. So I went ahead and calculated that assuming I did around 4 trips to do all of this sourcing for the past 2.5 months, I spent probably like 23 miles back and forth. That's equivalent to 1 gallon for my car. So with gas prices, I'll say with gas prices at $6 a gallon, because gas has been insane, I will subtract $6 off of that total. And then I did a very rough ballpark estimate. It takes me an average of 10 minutes start to finish to process and ship these items. This is not counting sourcing time. This is counting just computer work, admin work, and shipping. That leaves me with around 3 to 3.5 hours to spend doing computer work. And then sourcing, I'll just, you know, play it on the safe side. So I'll say I spent 2 hours sourcing the Goodwill specific items because of course a lot of this, like a majority of the items that I sold were actually stuff that were given to me. So that has no time spent on my end because it's just handed over to me, delivered to my house. 3 to 3.5 hours to doing computer processing, shipping work. And then let's say 2 hours spent sourcing the inventory. And if I were to calculate that at, let's say, charging me a $20 an hour rate, I will say that's around $100 spent on time that I invested. So all that considered, all that deducted, all that subtracted, if I were to do this calculation myself and weren't factoring in time for me sourcing, because like I said at the start of the video, sourcing is my favorite part of reselling, and I don't associate that with cost because it's so fun for me. It's like my therapy, like retail therapy is for real. So if you were not considering sourcing as a cost, then I would be right at the $1,000 range. How long does it take me to make $1,000? If you were to put it in a timeline sense, it takes me 2.5 months. Of course, there's variances. Sometimes I sell more, sometimes I sell less. This is just an average. And if you were to calculate that actually to hours associated, that's around 5 hours to make $1,000. Anyways, I congratulate you if you have made it this far into the video, and if you found this at all interesting, please let's start a discussion in the comments below. Let me know what you guys found interesting. Let me know if you guys are more interested in more reselling videos for me. I found this to be so fun. I got a genuine kick out of it, so I hope you did too. With all that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye-bye.